Kings and Queens, Your Majesties, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for returning. Trust you and yours are well, and you're loving yourself and others like always. Many thanks to all of you for the support you give to the channel. Thank you so much to our channel members, to our anonymous supporters, to all of you my esteemed subscribers you loved, celebrated, and of course appreciated. So we are here today to have some little discussion about what is happening in Sudan and how UAE is being accused of funding the terrorists or the rebels in Sudan to destroy, destabilize because of the resources that is in Sudan's underground. They want to keep harnessing because I don't want to believe that they have not even started exploring it. Because when you listen to the news, it's like that is what they are aiming at. But I want to believe that they were exploring Sudan's gold before now, and because they want to keep exploring Sudan's gold, they had to, destroy the core, the backbone of Sudan, so that they can keep harnessing. Before now, remember, Sudan was one. It is still because of this chaos, international interference, wicked people, that Sudan got divided. Sudan got divided. Even at that, they are still not allowing Sudan to rest. Both Sudan and South Sudan. Both of them, they are not allowing them to rest. What has the crime these people committed? What is the crime of these people? What crime have they committed? Their only crime is that they have resources in their underground. A lot of gold. A lot of gold, I tell you. That is a crime that these people commit. So UAE is eyeing their gold, have been eyeing their gold, have been harnessing, and they want to be more wicked and greedy. So they want to destroy everybody's life there so that they can have the gold to themselves totally, forever. That has been the situation of Sudan. And sometimes I look at it like we are not talking about Sudan enough, because a lot is going down there that we are not making enough awareness. We're not creating enough awareness. We are not listening to their story enough. We're not giving them, a fair hearing enough. Just like what is happening in Congo, sometimes when you talk about places like this, even the algorithm try to suppress you. You hardly the information hardly go out. That's what I've noticed. A lot is happening. People are losing their lives by day for no fault of theirs. But the algorithm suppresses your information. In short, they flag you most of the times and tell you to take it down. It's quite unfortunate. But let's listen to some informations and then we'll take it up from there, Your Majesties.
Why is the United Arab Emirates backing a genocidal militia? Satellite images and UN reports show the UAE is arming a paramilitary group, which is trying to take over Sudan by force. The country's civil war has displaced 12 million people and left 25 million facing acute hunger. The UAE rejects these accusations, but evidence of its role backing the rapid support forces is overwhelming. So why is it involved? One argument is that the UAE wants Sudan's gold. There are multiple gold mines in Sudan, including here, here, and here. And gold is important to the Emirates. The country has become a gold refining hub, and gold is now its most valuable non-hydrocarbon export. But here's the thing, the UAE already imports almost all of Sudan's gold. What's more, the Emirates has a $500 billion economy, so importing slightly more gold doesn't make much of a difference. Another argument is agriculture. Sudan has more land that could be used for farming than any other African country. That interests the UAE, which is highly dependent on imports. As a desert country, 90% of its food comes from abroad. But the UAE already controls tens of thousands of hectares of Sudanese farmland and imports tens of millions of dollars of its crops. Others suggest that the UAE is after geopolitical influence. Sudan has a large coastline on the Red Sea. That makes it a strategic location for trade and security. But there's another explanation, a more compelling one. The UAE seems motivated by ideology. Its president, Mohammed bin Zayed, is fiercely hostile to political Islam. In Sudan, Islamist officers wield power within the army. That seems to be why the UAE is backing a militia that's fighting against the army. It follows a pattern of the Emirates trying to carve out its own sphere of influence, distinct from regional rivals like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Turkey. A few years ago, it supported a warlord who unsuccessfully tried to overthrow the government of Libya. It supports secessionists in Yemen. It also backs the leaders of Puntland and Somaliland, two breakaway republics in Somalia. And the UAE is skeptical of the Islamist-led government that has emerged in Syria. But nowhere has its foreign policy had more devastating consequences than in Sudan, where the government accused the UAE of complicity in genocide. The UAE's policy has managed to anger America, China, and Russia, no small feat in 2025. Even though the RSF has lost some ground, there are no signs that Emirati support for the militia is waning. That means its role fueling the world's worst humanitarian crisis looks likely to continue.
Oh, Your Majesties, you heard that? And after all said and done, the pain that I have is it still all boils down to religion. It boils down to religion. You know, when you talk about the Arab colonization, during the Arab slave trading, what the Arab did to the Africans is so inhumane that when we talk about slave trading or slavery of the African people or foreign bodies enslaving Africans, most of the time we forget to talk about the Arab slave trading. The Arab have done a lot of havoc to the continent of Africa. Quietly, they are still doing a lot more. Do not get it twisted that we're always talking about Europe and America, the collective West, this and that. The Arab have done the same and more. They don't care. Remember, there was a time I was talking to you here about how we're trying to bring the information to you anyway, like creating awareness that the Arab world are buying hectares and hectares of land in countries in the continent of Africa in the name of green. What do you call it? I'm going to leave it on the screen because it's have escaped my mind. Um, they were buying hectares of land. And some of us think that they're just buying it for what they told you they want to use the land for. They're not going to tell you their real aim or motive behind purchasing hectares of lands. Your Majesties, and it is unfortunate the kind of situation that we find ourselves as the Africans. And I thought, okay, why not we just, push our minds a little bit to Sudan and see what is happening there, create more awareness, and let the world know, let the Arab world know, let UAE know that we are aware that they are interfering. That is enough. That they know that we are aware that they are interfering. Okay, leave your thoughts and opinion there. The section as I leave you with some information coming up. I'm going to see you in my next one. Until then, love yourself, love others, stay safe, stay positive always, Your Majesties. Bye for now.
The Arabs conquered North Africa in a jihad between 639 and 708 AD. And this is why North Africa today is Arab. Because if we go back in the day, North Africans used to be black, just like the rest of Africa. But let's read what happened. A scholar called Ibn Khaldun explained what happened. At the time of the conquest of northern Africa, and I've put in brackets by the Arabs, some merchants penetrated into the western part of the land of the blacks and found no king more powerful than the king of Ghana. His states extended westwards to the shores of the Atlantic Ocean. Kumbi Saleh, the capital of this strong, populous nation, was made up of two towns and formed one of the greatest and best populated cities in the world. The author of the Book of Roger makes special mention of it, as does the author of Roads and Kingdoms. So what have we just been told? When the Arabs conquered North Africa, they tried something in West Africa. But whatever they tried, they were stopped by this most powerful West African king, who presumably handed out a smackdown. That king was the ruler of Ghana, and his territories were all the way from the Atlantic Ocean inland. And His capital city was one of the greatest and best populated cities in the world. And if we want to know more about ancient Ghana, we should read this book, the Book of Roger, and we should read another book, The Roads and Kingdoms. We're going to follow up on both of those books. Now, the Arabs in Africa brought in Islam, and Islam became a rival for traditional African religions. And it divided Africans then, and it divides Africans today. Should we stick with tradition, or should we jump on Islam? You also had Africa's first major refugee problems, because the early North Africans that used to live in Egypt don't. The ones that used to live in Libya don't. The ones that used to live in what is today Algeria, Morocco, Tunisia, they don't. They moved south. And this is why black people in Africa live south of the Sahara. An African queen from Mauritania called Dahia El Kahina tried to stop the Arab invasions, and she was brave and she fought back, but ultimately she was killed in battle, and the Arabs conquered North Africa. An African and Arab conflict would escalate, and even blowing up into civil war. So they had to find a ruler who could unite both. And this ruler was Abd al-Rahman I. He's said to have been part Arab, i.e. Yemeni, and part African. So he would have been fully black, in other words. Right? In May 756, he became the ruler of Islamic Spain and the first of the Umayyads. Okay, the early years. The early years of Islamic rule in Spain were unstable. There were 19 governors over Cordoba between 716 and 747. When you have a large number of rulers in a short period of time, that's political instability. Right? Actually, I did not want to mention Kwesi, but yeah, there it is. All right, so what happened next? Well, the Muslims took control of land vacated by the Spaniards, who fled north. Arabs settled the most fertile part of the south and left Africans poorer land in central Spain and areas closer to the north. And this led to conflict between Musa, the Arab overlord, but let's be quite clear, Yemeni overlord, and Tariq, the African subordinate. An African and Arab conflict would escalate, and even blowing up into civil war. So they had to find a ruler who could unite both. And this ruler was Abd al-Rahman I. He's said to have been part Arab, i.e. Yemeni, and part African. So he would have been fully black, in other words. Right? In May 756, he became the ruler of Islamic Spain and the first of the Umayyads. He divided the country into military districts and administered it on that basis, and he created a standing army of 40,000 men who were mostly Africans. In agriculture, he made developments that led to the growth of the farming industry. He introduced accurate land surveying, built granaries to combat food shortages, and established effective irrigation canals. From the Middle East, he imported cotton, fruits, rice, spices, sugarcane, and vegetables. And so the industries that developed from Abd al-Rahman's policies were sugarcane and cotton were planted near the Mediterranean coastal regions. Figs and olives were farmed in the south. Oranges and wine were cultivated in Granada and Malaga provinces. Oranges, rice, and palm trees sprouted in Valencia. A silk industry grew up in Murcia. Leatherworking and dyeing flourished in Cordoba. Ordnance developed in Toledo, and ceramics industry prospered in Almeria. Now, this is what the Science Museum in Granada has to say. We've got here hydraulic technology. Great advances were made in hydraulic technology in El Andalus, Andalusia, Spain. The traditions of classical engineering were combined with new ideas emanating from the Islamic world from two principal sources, Syria and North Africa. The Eastern writer, El Yaziri, was a leading proponent of these ideas. So, new ideas, what dates please? What dates? 12th and 13th centuries. Does that make sense? And when this happened, this was new. We getting this? And then they have an example of a water wheel, and then they have the animal-powered water lifting device. Can you see that? Yeah? Now, medieval Nubia had sakias. Can you see that that sack here is the same as that? Does that make sense? All they did was they changed the four-legged beastie in the picture.